From just the last question and the replies, you can see that the NDN is the true by name. It's called the named data networking, and therefore all our tricks and the magic are on the names. You use name right, then you can do networking. So I don't think I should say much more concluding discussions. I think congratulations. You sat through this highway hailstorms of the whole morning, in the sense that I think for people who have been in the NDN game, there's nothing new here. There's more in-depth discussion that advance the concepts. But I think I can see many faces. This is probably your first time exposed to NDN. I'm afraid that the conceptual barrier probably is very, very tall. But this is really entirely new way of doing networking. Indeed, very exciting. I started doing this from 2010. At the very beginning, I thought, oh, this is pretty simple. But as you spending more time into it, you both appreciate how the new direction it is, how novel it is, and how much opportunities you actually have to do things that becomes increasingly difficult. When you look at this TCP/IP stack, you have to build things on top of that. So that's why people build today's all the advanced things into the cloud, where they don't have to worry about the TCP/IP. Everything is on top at the network layer. So, like I said, we'd like to hear back from you. Whatever the questions you may have, critics as well. So there's the mailing list. You can join. I had wanted to give a summary of what we have touched upon today, but I think that's probably not necessary. If you just remember one thing, that is named data networking is just an entirely new way to think about communications. It's fundamentally different from what we know today. Like, oh, you have an address, you shoot the packets there. Being old, I had to tell you I'm old. Being old, I have gone through this kind of a conceptual fundamental transition twice now. This is my second time. The very first time was from telephony to IP. When I was in graduate school, IP specification published at the same time I went to MIT. And it took a lot of time to think about, oh, you can communicate without building the circuit. And then we joke with other people to say that you are really a bell-shaped head, in the sense that you always think about the circuit. You can actually do networking without circuit. Now, for people who so get used to the IP way of thinking, there's really another conceptual jump. That is, can you really do network and not think about the nodes? Let's spend the next few days and we can chat about this. So I want to just give you some pointers. Whoever you develop the interest over this morning, we have developed tons of materials to help you further explore this direction. I think in particular, the tutorial page might be a good starting point. You don't have to read 50 papers, and each of them actually more or less address a specific topic, which you might not know where to fit into the overall big picture. So the tutorial page would be easier. Like this tutorial will be online pretty soon. Like Alex has been busy doing the recording. And there's
hours.
Huh?
We have now hours of tutorials.
Already online?
No, I mean not.
Oh, I mean, over the years, there's lots of tutorials. In particular, I think at the last sitcom, we had a tutorial where with Van Jacobson, the inventor of this whole new stuff, he actually gave the opening talk. Very interesting to hear.
It's clear, naming is clearly fundamental to how all this works. And I think the last presentation showed a lot of flexibility in how things are named. But what I don't really understand is what are the fixed points in the names? What's the architecture around which you're allowing the data to name?
I think NDN play all the games with the names. NDN doesn't really manage the higher level naming. I think the fixed thing started with the hierarchical namespace. Therefore, under your namespace, you do your own things. That's one direction. Another way to say it, there's always, you do one way, you do the different thing, right? So we are actually developing these naming conventions to extract out the common approaches, how actually you divide the namespace, how many components, what are the essential information you must code into the name.
So is there agreement on any of it? I mean, in DNS,
This is under.
You've got control over the TLDs, and then you've got lots of variation below that. Is there anything like that kind of shape in DNS?
You can see that, the games we play is a lower layer, a lower level components. So therefore, you always have your own unique namespace that you can explore. You are not affecting others. But what I'm saying is that to build applications, like a novice, when you start day one, how do you design your namespace? And for that, we are developing like a set of naming conventions based on the license, sometimes the hard license we have learned over the last several years, playing with this namespace design. Yeah, so I can just spell out the problem to you that for today's application, application developers do whatever things they want to do with naming, because it has nothing to do with the rest of the system, right? For security, there are TLS. TLS doesn't really care about your names, other than you have to get a key from the CA. And then you don't care about where to get the data. Somehow, there's an automatic translation between your name and the address, and so TCP connection goes to that address. In NDN, we realized actually you think about all this magic that exists elsewhere, doesn't seem to be a right design. For example, how would the DNS return you a right address? You know all the tricks and difficulties and engineers, so-called, to convert the DNS name to the so-called right address. And we say, get rid of those crap. Because in that translation, it's not just the complexity. There's also security related to it. If you get the name hijacking, it's totally die. It has happened so many times. And also, your DNS is a great target for attack. That's how, get attacked and cause this substantial damage. Because those translation points are the critical points for the whole internet that operates. So can we design a truly distributed networking system without those critical points? Because those points are difficult to protect. And then you just play the names game. So therefore, naming is both magical and also a little challenging, because we have names. This afternoon, I'm going to explain how we actually use names to help with the security, essentially crypto keys management. Yeah, and I don't think we anywhere give you the detail about how we use names to do forwarding. We say we get rid of all this crap of DNS translations. Then how do the router look at this interest and know the exact where to forward? Some of the tutorials I think touched upon those things. But you see, for whoever you are looking for challenging research topics, NDN is aligned to find them. Thank you.